Right, without any further ado, if I could ask our speaker number one, please, to introduce himself and start his 3 minutes. Konrad, could you go a bit closer to your mic?
I can't hear you.
Just go put that. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attendance. For those who don't know me yet, and I believe this is most of you people gathered here tonight, my name is Konrad Kruszynski. I am both Polish and British citizen, and I work as a sales executive. The fact that I am new to politics gives me an opportunity to bring fresh perspective into an old order. The reality is that many people, even those who have been living in Jersey for many years, are not fully engaging themselves in the political life of the island. It is here where we live, where we work, where we raise our children, yet many of us still haven't really decided where the home is. This is because the minds are here, but they have left the heart somewhere else. It is time to finally ask ourselves, where do we belong? Put your hearts and minds into a new home, and with passion and engagement, begin the new story. I've heard someone saying politicians won't change anything in my life. I don't agree with that statement, but I do agree that Jersey politicians must actively engage and listen to what people say to rebuild that trust and change the perception of politics. I believe that new people with fresh ideas will be able to understand the current issues we are facing. Politicians should seek solutions for an active engagement with ordinary people, not just before the election, as it usually happens, but during the whole term. I would wish to see the island with no divisions, societies or groups. Only then we can live better if we accept our differences and make them work to our advantage rather than disadvantage. Let us build a new legacy which will lay the foundations for future generations. If given opportunity, I will insist on reintroducing work permits for all incoming employees. We simply cannot accommodate any more people. Let's make most of what we have and give opportunity to permanent residents of this island. Tighter border control to prevent entry to criminals seeking refuge in the island. Reducing doctor fees for pensioners, people on long-term incapacity allowance and low income. For a large proportion of people working in so-called low-status job, £40 for a 20-minute visit is simply unaffordable and resulting in loss of health and in the long run being burden for spending budget. Supporting development of small businesses, improving standard of living by scrapping the current rental housing qualifications, developing environmentally friendly waste-to-energy technology, creating alternative energy solution providing clean, reliable electric power, saving space in local landfills and reducing pollution of Jersey shores. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that issues I have raised tonight, along with presented spectrum of possible solutions, will meet with wide interest and your appreciation. Once again, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And candidate 2, Philip Bozov, please.
Mr. Constable, ladies and gentlemen, the last time I was in this hall, I was honoured to have been present for the unveiling of the Sir George Carteret statue just a few metres away. That great Jerseyman, that St. Peter's boy, because of his hard work, courage, entrepreneurship, loyalty, literally changed the course of world history. Mr. Constable, you and your parish rightly have recognised him. This man should be a model for us all. In this election, islanders need representatives who understand what made Jersey special and what will continue to make Jersey special in the future. Elected representatives who will be able to represent the island internationally. More importantly, have a clear vision of what needs to be done. Elected politicians who have the courage and energy and ability to make decisions, some of them difficult. Today, the last act of the States was to pass the 2015 budget. A lot has been said about the budget. At its heart, its objective is to secure economic recovery, secure jobs, invest in healthcare, and cut income taxes for more than 80% of islanders. And more importantly, build the foundations for the next Council of Ministers to deal with the challenges ahead. When all is said when all is said and done, at the end of my 6 years at the Treasury, I can tell you that your public finances are in better shape than they were 6 years ago. I can report to you, for example, this evening, that the value of your strategic reserve is now, this evening, worth £780 million. That's up more than 50% than 3 years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the issues for the next 3.5 years? Well, in addition to jobs, I will say two things. Firstly, healthcare. People are living longer, that's great. But the current healthcare system has to change. It literally needs to be turned upside down and reformed. There is an enormous workload ahead to ensure that we have better GP access, more affordable primary health care, where to put the hospital, and most importantly, how the appropriate funding for healthcare in the future should be delivered. The second big issue for us is learning and teaching. We desperately need a new informed strategic vision for education so that every child in Jersey can have the opportunity to reach their potential. Ladies and gentlemen, you have some excellent candidates, and I hope that I have the track record of ability, experience and commitment to earn one of your votes on election day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Now could we have candidate 3, Zoe Cameron, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The island faces a more uncertain financial future than ever before in my lifetime. A Jerseyman used to be recognised by his reluctance to open his wallet. You could depend on us to drive a hard bargain, and this characteristic has served us well over the years, kept taxes low and ensured our prosperity. I'm not sure that this prudence still exists. Our health service takes a significant proportion of the budget, and the states have decided to invest further over the next few years. And it's for this reason that I've decided to step into politics. When I set up my surgery in St Wands 25 years ago, I got to know my patients very well and was personally responsible for most of their care. If someone was dying of cancer and the family needed extra help, all I had to do was ring family nursing or hospice, who'd provide the support requested immediately. New processes were then introduced that meant instead of a quick phone call, I had to fill in a referral form. The patient would then wait 3 weeks for someone less qualified than myself, who had never met the patient before, to do a tick box assessment. If my patients answered the questions in the right way and scored over a certain level, then they hit the threshold for care. The organisation then told you what it could and could not provide and when it could fit you into their busy schedule. I was very fortunate that the local church decided to raise funds for someone to work alongside me in the surgery so my patients could bypass this process and continue to get the help they required. I was impressed how the constable, who truly saw himself as the father of the parish, someone to turn to in times of need, cared for his parishioners. So as long as the parishioner didn't mind, I could discuss with parish staff anyone I was concerned about, and together with the help of neighbours, family and parish volunteers, we could usually provide much needed support and funds. It's hard to quantify the value of such social capital. This year, another of my patients wanted to die at home. The family was exhausted and needed one extra night of care during the week to be able to cope and get some rest. They counted as 21 different professionals came to the house to discuss if he ticked enough of their boxes to get over various thresholds. In the event, no night carer was available, so he had to go into hospital for the last 3 days of his life. I ask you, is this a good use of taxpayers' money? I understand there's about 4,000 carers in Jersey providing 4 hours of free care a day. We have the foundation of what could be the basis of world-leading health and social care services based on more on people than buildings. If you share this vision, vote for me on 15th of October.
I think we had a slight misfunction on the bell there, but bearing in mind there's an aircraft landing when Zoe was talking, I think the few extra seconds was probably fair. Thank you, Zoe. Candidate 4, Chris Magee, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Microphone right? Okay. My name is Chris Magee and I'm 25 years old. Most of my generation feel, and indeed have felt for some time, that the makeup of the States does not represent their best interests. Well, we're well into the campaign now, and I can tell you that this concern is not limited to those of my generation. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? Who is the employer, and who are the employees? If it's true that, on paper at least, the government work for us, then why are we, the employers, allowing our staff to plunge our accounts into the red to the tune of 250 million, or spend money we don't even have to the tune of 95? That's no way to run a business. That's no way to run the island. Some on this panel will talk about preserving Jersey's culture, heritage and traditions, whilst ushering in wave after wave of multinational corporations which inevitably destroy local businesses. The next generation of entrepreneurs are being held back by excessive financial and bureaucratic barriers to entry in the marketplace. I want to make it easier and cheaper to start your own business here in Jersey. I want our government to stop looking at everything we have to offer in terms of pounds and pence. I want our young people and future generations to have a life laced with opportunity, not red tape. I'm less than half the age of some of the other candidates. It's true, I've never been a politician. I've said it before and I've said it again. It's not about me. It's not the Chris Magee show. You will not find my face on my election posters. That's not because for some reason my beard is a different colour to my hair, but because it's about the issues. It's about you. I do have a law degree, but that's not the reason why I was in court this morning. The reason was I was accompanying a young man from this parish. He's a T4 paraplegic and suffers a range of medical conditions which he's trying to live with. He is currently and has been prescribed opioids, i.e. synthetic heroin, for years. These do not improve his quality of life. They do not ease his daily suffering. Where they are not effective, cannabis is. Using cannabis enables him to get more than 3 hours sleep each night, alleviate his stomach cramps, muscle spasms, and improve his quality of life. It may perhaps be news to you that cannabis is legal in Jersey when prescribed by the Health Minister. How many licences have been issued? This many. Instead of resorting to the black market, this young man took matters into his own hands and put the grand total of 2 seeds into some soil. No money changed hands, no cannabis was supplied or even harvested. For this heinous crime, his home was raided by police, and even though the police acknowledged that the young man had no intention to supply anyone with anything, he found himself dragged into court. Does this sound like justice to you? If so, tell him yourself. Daniel, I'll do everything I can to ensure that you and others around the island get access to the medicine that you need. Whilst I admit it's not a panacea, it's not for everyone, cannabis is a medicine, but don't take my word for it. Look into it, inform yourselves. These are the days where virtually the entirety of human knowledge is available at the touch of a button. The science and the truth have been kept from us for far too long. I must stress that I'm not a single issue candidate, but this is something I feel very strongly about. I for one say no more to this morally unjustifiable, economically unsustainable policy. If you agree, vote Chris Magee. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate 6, please. Candidate 5, David Richardson, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Richardson. I'm a Jerseyman. I work as an accountant in the banking industry. I've been working in the finance industry for 15 years. My overriding policy would be to promote both Jersey and the other Channel Islands as healthy, robust, vibrant and forward-thinking global centres of excellence in the finance industry. However, with enormous looming budgets, deficits, my main aim would be try to get through inter-island discussion and conferencing between the 2 assemblies and administration to find out if we could achieve cost savings in the public sector in such things as law drafting, tertiary education and capital projects. After all, the sum of 2 is much a greater good force for good than the 2 islands working apart on the same agendas. There must be enormous savings to be made here. In energy, I would promote the appointment of a new minister called New Minister of Energy, whose task it is to know everything there is to know about energy. We could easily lower our carbon footprint and promote an environmentally sustainable living. For instance, I run an electric car, Leaf car, 100% electric, 0 carbon emission, a pleasure to ride and costs 5p a mile to run, which is half the comparable car, a petrol car at the moment. I would like to see the person technically proficient and able and knowledgeable enough to promote micro-energy projects, including the installation on houses, and look into the long-term feasibility into investing in a similar scheme as the ordinary renewable energy scheme, which is going to cost 2 billion, feed 1.5 million homes, and will be probably on live by 2020. We mustn't miss out. It's a big opportunity. I believe also the current Minister of Planning and Environment should separate the roles into two. The countryside has become overbuilt, his role is in conflict, and we need a separate minister who has teeth and resources, application of law behind them in order to oppose certain planning projects. After all, Plymouth probably would not have happened for so long if we'd had one. The algae in the Bay of St. Albans, for instance, if we had a minister who knew what they were talking about, it could have been dealt with. And many housing projects would not have happened had we had a separate environmental minister. Population. Jersey is overpopulated, and I would endeavour, wherever possible, to find ways of keeping the population in check. I was founder of the Optimum Population Trust, now Population Matters, that has a patron, to David Attenborough, as one of its patrons. I'm well aware of the Western world's constraints. 2 billion when I was born, 7 billion today, and 80% chance of 12 billion by 2100. I'm well aware of overpopulation problems. It is a sort of problem that needs to be broken down into its constituent parts. If we need extra nurses and doctors and teachers in Jersey, we need to build accommodation for them and have them so that they can come for a certain amount of time and inducements for them to leave at the end without bringing in extra people permanently. I teach 1 hour a week in a local school, and I'm well aware also of the education...
Okay, Mr. Richardson, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Please vote.
And candidate number 6, Jeff Haven, please.
Connétable, ladies and gentlemen, St. Peter. I am a businessman, management accountant, pilot for many years, chairman of Jersey Friends of Air Search. I have a proven track record in business. I've been involved with the motor trade, the airline industry, building redevelopment, retail, and consulting on varying projects in varying parts of the world. We are about to go into a time of great economic and social change. This is probably the most important election that there will be for many years. And this puts a responsibility on you, the electorate, because you have to elect those people that you think will represent Jersey first. And by that I mean the whole community. Couple that with an absolute need that whomsoever is elected must be able and willing to work together to this end. Jersey also needs to re-establish its identity in the world. We seem to have lost it a little. We're not EU, we're not UK, so let us put Jersey first. As we have heard and written in the paper recently, we are going into a time of budget deficit. To avoid all those things we really don't want, which is rises in taxes, we have to boost the economy to its maximum level in the shortest possible time. The finance industry is already being supported very, very well, and so rightly it should be. We are now in a new digital age, and efforts in this area are also progressing quite quickly. Tourism has a spotlight put on it, and we will only see, hopefully, in shorter term, the benefits that we can get from that. But there is one section of the economy, which is the bottom end, which is suffering greatly, and it's the small businesses. It's the 2-man, the 5-man, the 8-man business. They are still struggling mightily. We need to support these people. They have constraints that we need to look at. There are skills gaps already appearing in certain sectors. We need to look at licensing for where skills are not available, and we need to address the employment law. 6 months, in some instances, is not long enough to make a decision as to whether it's the right person, because it's not usually one job you train somebody for, it's many. If we can do that, we lower unemployment, and we lower the social cost to the island. And obviously, we get people back their dignity. They are in work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haven. Candidate 7, Ellen Maclean, please.
Monsieur Konrad, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I left a successful business career to seek election as deputy in 2005. Since 2008, when I was re-elected as senator, I was appointed Minister for Economic Development, which coincided with the worst global financial crisis imaginable. I'm proud to have had the opportunity to serve my island and our community on important local issues and on the international stage, where I've worked hard with colleagues to build Jersey's reputation and attract trade and inward investment. To meet the challenges of the last few years, I've overseen the transformation of the Economic Development Department, reducing headcount, delivering efficiencies and new ways of supporting the economy more effectively and at a lower cost. We've achieved a lot. To pick a few highlights: integrating the harbour and airport management teams, removing duplication and substantially reducing cost, supporting investment in improving air routes, like the introduction of EasyJet, creating the £5 million Innovation Fund to stimulate growth and jobs, completely redesigning the failing lottery, which last year, having been turned around, led to the largest sum ever raised for local charities, £680,000. That's £250,000 more than ever before. Introducing the Foundations Law to boost financial services and modernising intellectual property laws. But there is much, much more to do to improve the lives for all islanders. The economy is recovering, but it's fragile and susceptible to external shocks. We still need to invest and to boost economic growth, drive diversification, especially through inward investment, and create more job opportunities. A few of my key priorities: we must research options for business incentives and tax breaks to drive investment, growth and job creation. Review and remove unnecessary red tape, regulation and legislation. Support the development of the digital and broader creative industries. Develop skills and training required by industry to allow more local people to compete for specialist jobs, therefore reducing the pressure on immigration. Modernise the public sector, including e-government services. Control the cost of government by capping recruitment without cutting frontline services. And yes, we can do that because the state has an annual turnover of 8% of staff. It just needs strong vacancy management. We must reduce and control the use of consultants within the states. We must reform the education system, and the appointment of external inspectors is important. Improve and create more affordable homes. Ladies and gentlemen, there's much to do. I believe I have the experience, the proven ability, the leadership qualities and the vision to be effective in terms of representing you in the future, and I hope you will consider giving me one of your votes in the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have candidate number 8, Sarah Ferguson, please?
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a most important election. State spending keeps rising and our income is falling. And what's more, we're told that the deficits forecast for 2014 and 15, especially 2015, are at the top end of what is appropriate. And the problem with deficit financing is that it can grow to become a habit. Ask anyone trying to pay off an overdraft or a payday loan. All is not lost, because at the moment we have assets to cover this, but we have fewer people paying tax and no new source of income for the states to balance this. Last year we reduced the marginal rate by 1%. This reduces states' income by 8 million. Removal of deemed distribution has lost us another 6 million. Not a lot in the scheme of things, but 8 million here, 6 million there, and you shouldn't have a problem. We are under pressure from the UK and outside agencies regarding our internal tax systems. We have been forced to change systems because of these pressures, and they won't go away. We need to re-examine our tax system to put the island back on the principled path charted by Cyril Lamarcon back in the 60s. Now these thoughts come from the work of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel, of which I'm the chairman, and are in our latest report, that on the draft budget. We have a deficit. In total, probably over 100 million, and about 50 million of that is probably on current account. Some of this is structural, and the only way to deal with structural deficits is to increase income, usually taxes, and reduce spending, usually cutting services. But that's been left till after the election. Our advisors for the report were particularly concerned that the link between income and expenditure seems to have been totally lost. We are struggling with balancing our budgets. We know what our budgets are. Budgeting is a game for the states. If it wasn't so, why are there such large and elastic underspends at the end of each year? You will hear many promises during these elections. I merely ask you to ask, how much will it cost and where will the money come from? This is probably the most important election for 60 years. Your vote is your voice. It matters. Please use it.
Thank you. Can we have candidate number 9, Sean Dooley-Powell, please?
Good evening, St. Peter. My name is Sean, and in case you haven't noticed, I'm standing for Senator. I have been a deputy. I am the senior deputy in St. Brelade, and I think I've done a reasonably good job down there over the last 9 years. Is that parish just south of here? I'm standing for Senator because I believe in the role of the Senator. I wrote to the Electoral Commission and then I spoke at the Electoral Commission recommending a revision system with 30 senators and 12 constables. That was not accepted by the Electoral Commission. I then joined the Option B campaign with many constables, some senators and some deputies. We took it to the Assembly, 86% of you that voted in the referendum, either A or B, voted for change. What happened? It was rejected by the Assembly. I'm still angry about that. We need to change the way we elect people. You've got my short manifesto there, so I don't have time to go into that. I care about the island and its people and its parishes. I care about the rich pageantry of island life. I care about the preservation of the parish way of life, the constables and the honorary system. I care about the extraordinary role of the bailiff in the history of this island. I care about people. I do my work where asked, and I care about my work in public service to this island. I'm as passionate as any Jerseyman or any Jersey woman about where this island is heading. Tonight, 31 men are living in 3 houses in a charity I founded. There's 16 men tonight living at Lemari House St. Peter at Beaumont. All of those men now have jobs. When they came to Caring Hands and Sanctuary House, they didn't. They were broken men, and we are men that help other men to get back to work. They're useful members of society. 11 years ago, before I was ever in the States, I fought a fight for Emerald Lines. I lost that fight. Last year, I fought a fight to resuscitate Hewlin Wren of Shipping, which I did with a new company called Channel Island Lines. Not my money, but I brought 2 shareholders in who brought a new funding package to Channel Island Lines, and now we have a guaranteed lift-on, lift-off service. I care about housing, social housing. I started the transformation programme. Deputy Green here finished it. I have a lot more to say, but I can't. I'm Vice President of the Animal Shelter. I am Vice Chairman of Caring Hands. I drive trucks to Romania. Janet Finnerty signed my nomination form. What else can I say? I'll be very grateful for one of your votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have candidate number 10, Andrew Green, please?
Mr Constable, people of St Peters, thank you for the warm welcome tonight. My name is Andrew Green, you just have to remember the colour. I proudly represented St Helier as deputy for 2 terms, a position I enjoyed as well as gaining considerable experience and understanding of government. I believe that I have delivered, both as a minister and as a backbencher. I could spend the whole of my speech telling you what I've done, but time doesn't allow for that. But if I pick just one, it would be the Housing Transformation Programme, transforming homes, transforming lives. I've had vast experience in managing change, leading change, and when I took on the portfolio of Housing Minister, I inherited a large waiting list, £80 million of outstanding maintenance, and no funds for reinvestment. You know, you can't solve a problem unless you admit you've got one. We did that, and together with your constable, we put forward a 10-year plan. That plan was described by an independent expert as honest and courageous. If elected, I would like to be the next health minister, using my experience in directing change, in transforming housing. Nearly 40 years experience in senior management in the health service, including 7 years in the NHS. Not that I want to follow the NHS. No, we need to look further afield. We need to look to New Zealand, for example. We could provide an integrated care that crosses the boundaries between primary, community, hospital and social care. Moving on, as we emerge from the deepest worldwide recession ever known and reflect, it is clear that life has been hard for all of you, and still is hard. But we have much to be grateful for. We've weathered the storm better than most. For example, our relatively stable house prices, no London bubble, no Southern Ireland crash. And we were right in that time to invest in infrastructure and projects that provided homes, work and employment. But we must seek new opportunities for economic activity. We must encourage and support our current industries such as finance, tourism and agriculture. Stable government will be an essential part to this, and that's one of the reasons why I'm seeking an island mandate. The ageing population, often referred to as a challenge, could be an opportunity to use the knowledge and experience of older folk, and a challenge to ensure, I think, inclusion, not exclusion. I visited today your excellent Queen's Jubilee homes, a parish initiative right in the heart of the community. The next health minister will require courage and vision. I believe I've demonstrated those skills in the role of housing minister. If you want a senator who thinks independently but works collectively, has a track record of getting things done, please give me one of your votes on the 15th of October. Go Green 14.
Thank you. Could we have candidate 11, John Young, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting deputy for St Bullard's number 1, elected after giving up a career working as a law firm director and finance industry accountant. Before that, I was chief officer of planning for 13 years, a health service manager and a treasury accountant. In 2011, the States elected me as chairman of the Environment Scrutiny Committee onto PPC and the Legal Access Group. As scrutiny chair, I've heard nearly 50 public hearings and reviews, and working as a backbencher, I've lodged 20 propositions and gained Slate's agreement to important changes to the island plan, amendments to planning law, Save Picket House, tax relief for charitable donations, reduced stamp duty for first-time buyers and survivors' pensions for over 55s. And I've also submitted 150 questions in order to gain information for issues raised to me by members of the public. So I hope you agree I'm not afraid of hard work. But time tonight prevents me from speaking about my policies. These are set out in my leaflet and my website, including my own CV. I want to talk to you tonight about the way our government presently works, as highlighted by the example of the new hospital project. I've had many people, including GPs and former consultants, all express serious concern over the two-site hospital option, which they unanimously consider to be unworkable. And after nearly 2 years on this two-site project, working through the States with other members asking for involvement in this, it took yesterday a scrutiny report and backbench members speaking strongly to gain a commitment from ministers that the two-site solution for the hospital will be brought back to the States for decision, with the alternatives costed and the benefits appraised. Good news. And yet, of course, the doubt in the community and people's minds has been well known for a long time. And this raises important questions about our way our government works. Do you prefer a government which involves and communicates with you openly and faces reality, or one that leans heavily on spin and token communication, where decisions are made first and you're consulted after? Do you prefer a government which is genuinely committed to include all democratically elected members in policy setting on your behalf, or where public policy is decided by a small inner group? Do you prefer a style of government which is inclusive and in line with Jersey traditions, or one which operates in a style which will lead to party politics eventually? On the 15th of October, you have a choice, so wait for a change. I lacked a new approach to ministerial government. I invite you to consider electing new senators, including myself. I put my future on the line. If elected, I will devote myself to the ministerial challenge and pursue my manifesto policies. I have the judgment to do so. I humbly ask for one of your 8 votes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Can we have candidate number 12, Lyndon Farnham, please?
Thank you, Mr. Am I on? I'm on. Right, okay, good evening. My name is Lyndon Farnham. I was first elected to the States in 1999 as a deputy, leaving in 2005 to focus on my family and business commitments, returning in 2011 when I was elected senator. I am the serving Minister at Home Affairs, where I hold responsibility for the Jersey Fire and Rescue Service and the prison service. And I know how proud we all are of our emergency services, but I am especially proud to have served at a time when we have seen many changes and improvements. Improvements in our police force, which has led to more public confidence in our police. And I'm pleased to report that Jersey's crime level continues to fall. I have successfully brought a number of propositions to the States, including a proposition, including a move to introduce political accountability for our justice system, and I now serve on the Justice Advisory Panel and the Bailiffs Consultative Panel. I am the immediate past president of the Jersey Hospitality Association, and I continue to champion tourism as an important pillar of our economy. I fully support the long overdue rejuvenation of Fort Regent, and I am leading the campaign for an international-sized 50-metre competition pool and associated facilities for Jersey. And my appeal here is, please, if we are to have a new pool, let's do it properly. I also led the campaign to keep the island-wide mandate and the office of Senator, which I'm pleased to say is alive and well, and long may it continue. If you elect me, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be seeking the position of Economic Development Minister, not least because I believe that we must now put economic growth firmly back at the top of the agenda, because in real terms in 2013, Jersey's economy was at its lowest level since 1998. From agriculture and the rural economy to sports and event-led tourism, to fintech and the digital economy, to economic diversification and small business development, it's time to act. It's time to introduce the policies that will return strength, drive and energy to our economy. There is still a widespread belief in Jersey that the states are not performing effectively. The main concerns are that some politicians are motivated more by self-interest than the interests of their island, and that some simply do not have the knowledge, skills or experience to be able to do the job. And there's a lot to do to safeguard our future prosperity, for which we need people who are experienced and sensible and proficient, so we must choose our representatives carefully. My politics are not about left or right, or senseless bickering or time wasting. My politics are about getting things done. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 13, Paul Routier, please.
Good evening, everybody. The social survey that was carried out recently showed that 77% of the island considered that population is a priority. However, views across our community vary widely, from having a closed door to the other extreme of having unlimited business licenses. The interim population policy approved by the states seeks to balance the demands of the island. The new states will need to incorporate the views of islanders when finalising the new framework, which includes all aspects of island life, the environment, the economy and community. When all the views have been collated, we will be in a better position to know what skills and size of population is needed. The control of housing and work law, which are guided through the states, is deliberately structured to adapt to meet our community aspirations. This evening, I want to focus on social policy. However, before we can have good social services, our island businesses need a fiscal and regulatory environment which encourages growth. It must not be forgotten that wealth generators pay taxes to fund the services our community require. However, controlling the level of taxes must be a priority, for a stable and prosperous economy. I have undertaken as Assistant Chief Minister and completed several significant complex projects. This year I led the debate of the Charities Law, which was enthusiastically welcomed by the voluntary and community sector, and I hope if re-elected to take that to the next phase of the law. I also want to ensure that an inclusive equality strategy for people with disabilities is finalised, to progress the new mental health and capacity law, and to conclude the complex Access to Justice review. All these pieces of work require careful and thorough reviews of policies and law drafting, and then importantly, implementing recommendations. Whilst a great deal has been achieved, there is still much to do. Whilst we are considering the options for the new hospital, I will be putting pressure on the new Health Minister to focus a real energy on social services for people with mental health issues and for children and adults with learning disabilities. Your parish is very fortunate to have Deputy Moore. Her scrutiny panel shone the light on children's respite services. That work has improved the lives of children with disabilities, and we now need to work hard to give adults with severe disabilities the same level of service, and also shine the light on all social services. These are challenging times which require clear thinking. I do hope that I have shown that I have the skills, compassion and business sense to carry out sound decisions. If you would like me to continue working for you, I would be pleased if you would consider me for one of your votes. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate 14 now, Anne Southern, please.
Good evening. I'm trying to deal with a different topic at each hustings. On Monday, I talked about the need to control the population. Last night, I talked about the need to listen to teachers to improve our education system. The text of these speeches is on the Reform Jersey website, if you'd like to find out what I said. Tonight, I'd like to talk about why I believe in party politics, as Reform Jersey has a candidate, Debbie, standing for election in this parish. Many of the sitting States members talk about working as part of a team, and that is what we are, a team. We all believe in our basic principles: protecting the vulnerable, campaigning for a living wage, stopping the abuse of 0 hours contracts, ensuring access to a good education and health service for all, controlling the population in order to protect our green spaces and combat the housing crisis, and reform of the states. But we're not people who are to be told what to do by a dictatorial leader. We are a diverse group, old, young, male and female, who each have our own talents and concerns that we can share with the others. We have young candidates with an understanding of the financial difficulties faced by students and their parents when they want to enter post-16 education, candidates with first-hand experience of the difficulties people face in the labour market, and candidates with experience of running a business. What can I contribute? I have 38 years' experience of teaching, from 4-year-olds to degree level, and in my work as a union leader have defended and will continue to defend the public sector from calls for cuts to frontline services. I'm good at reading and analysing documents and extracting key points that need supporting or opposing. Our sitting members have brought propositions to the States that have resulted in investigations into the living wage, the abuse of 0 hours contracts and rent control, and Deputy Tuddy is on the panel looking into access to justice. Each of these initiatives can save taxpayers money, and as a team we want to be in the States to make sure that the findings of the reports result in action. We will each contribute to future policies and discuss strategies for being effective in the States. However, there'll be some issues where we'll vote according to our consciences or the best interests of our constituents. As a group, we will be able to influence the choice of Chief Minister, who will need to offer action on some of our policies in order to get our support. You know what we stand for. We share a passionate desire to promote more equality and fairness in this wealthy island, and we will have the ability to carry out our policies in a way that individuals can't. You'll see many yes men on this platform. They have badges to prove it. I'm not one of them.
And candidate 15, Philip Bausch, please.
Good evening. I'm afraid that you will not find my speeches on the Reform Jersey website, but they are on mine. I want to speak this evening about women in politics, and I thought it would be appropriate to do so in this parish where you have a talented and very effective female deputy. Of the 51 members of the states, only 11 are women, about 22%. The European average is 24%, although in the Nordic countries it is up at 42%. Everyone pays lip service to it, but is gender equality or something approaching it important? In principle, the answer to that must be yes. Men and women are different. We know that women come from Venus and men from Mars, although my wife tells me sometimes that I come from a much more remote planet. Gender equality is important, I think, for three reasons. First, it leads to greater harmony and a sense of inclusion. Some women feel uncomfortable in being a small minority in a male assembly. Secondly, it leads to better decision-making. Because men and women sometimes look at things differently, a merging of approaches usually leads to a more balanced decision. And thirdly, gender equity in decision-making is fair. There is no reason why one half of the human race should be excluded from playing its proper part in decision-making. Of course, we live in a changing world, and there are now many more women in professions and occupations which were once the preserve of men. But that dynamic does not seem to apply to politics. The percentage of women in the States has remained stubbornly stuck at between 15 and 25% for 20 years or more. Why? And what can be done? I'm not personally in favour of positive discrimination. Like men, women should be elected on merit and not just because they are women. What we should do, however, is to try to ensure that the States provides an environment that encourages women to participate. The nastiness and personal attacks that were once a part of politics have largely gone. Politics should be robust but polite. More broadly, I think that we all have a responsibility to ensure that old-fashioned, stereotypical views of women's role in society are challenged. What is really important is that young women should be able to grow up confident in the knowledge that society will treat them as equal to young men in every way. Perhaps then we will have gender equality in the States. Thank you.
And now candidate 16, Ian Gorst, please.
Monsieur le Connétable, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's been an honour for me to serve as Chief Minister for the last 3 years. And I don't think anyone in this hall would argue with the fact that it's been a difficult 3 years for the island. We've faced a number of challenges and we've not escaped the effect of the worldwide economic downturn. But as head of government, I have sought to find consensus and to deliver for islanders, facing up to our problems and making difficult decisions. Of course, we all know, and we've heard about some of them this evening, that challenges remain. But I believe that by uniting as one community, we can have a strong future. Because I want my daughters to grow up in a society which is inclusive, where there is support for those who are less well off, for those who are old, and for those who are vulnerable. But of course I also want support for those who have initiative and want to better themselves. I want to see a Jersey where we embrace diversity and where we all feel that we have a future. And that's why over the last 3 years we've delivered on a number of initiatives. We've enabled 50 families to buy new homes. We've introduced long-awaited discrimination legislation and family-friendly legislation. We started to reform the public sector. We've created we've put 4,500 islanders into paid employment, a working relationship between government and employers. But these are only some of our achievements, and we've got to go further and we've got to go faster. We started e-government, but we've got to speed up. And we've got to increase support for businesses, for innovation, and we've got to speed up the health reform. We need to make sure that over the next 3.5 years, we foster an environment that encourages economic growth and diversification. Of course, we've created opportunities over the last 3 years. Digital Jersey, the establishment of an innovation fund and Jersey business, a new tourism body. We've supported agriculture. But we've got to increase and up our game. We've got to promote innovation in new technologies, in niche areas such as fintech and Bitcoin. We've invested in our essential infrastructure. We've invested in a new liquid waste system. We started the process of delivery of a new hospital. And we've put increased emphasis on planning for the long term. Yes, I am a yes man because I believe in the parochial system. And I believe that the link between the Conitab and the community and the states is fundamentally important in connecting you with your parliament. Much has been achieved, but much has still got to be done. And it would be an honour for me to continue to serve you with my motivation and my energy to build a healthy and secure future for us all. Thank you.
Candidate 17, Guy de Ferey, please.
So, the strategic reserve is up to 700 million tonight. Yet another rabbit out of the hat. Is it magic? Or may it be linked to the fact that the stock market is running at the highest level for years? Well, just as well, because a highly placed source informed me only the other week that in fact our true debt in Jersey is well over 1,000 million. So it's lucky that we've got 700 million in reserve. But how are we going to claw back on all these debts? Well, obviously there's two major options: more tax or cut back and trim government. Well, I think that the middle and lower wage earning members of this island have taken enough stick through the recession, and I would be loath to see them hit yet again with more taxes. And so if we are going to go down that path, I think we have to look at trimming government. But by the way, did you know about all the stealth taxes you're paying? Paying through your utilities, waterworks, JEC, JT. Well, I recently discovered, as did states members, that these utilities are not actually being run in the public interest. No, the direction given to the boards are about, will you please achieve maximum dividend value? That means making profits, and that means making profits out of your water rates, your electricity bills, and your telephone charges. Now, I would like to take a different approach. I would like to say to JT, would you please approach this so that the people of this island have the lowest call charges and data charges available? And can we stop this practice of giving huge multi-million-pound cheques to the Treasury so they can hand it over to the states to squander on yet more nice-to-have projects? We need to see changes. Now, cut back on government can be painful, but we have reached astonishing heights of employment. Over 7,000 public servants in this island, all paid for by the taxpayer. Clearly, there's going to have to be cutbacks. Clearly, some people may have to be made redundant, and clearly there may be pay freezes. But if this is the way we're going to go, I want to see the pay freezes start at the people with the top salaries and work its way down. And if we've got any money in the kitty, let's put in a wage rise for the people at the bottom end. The bell's going, which draws me to a point I like to make. We have on this platform at least half a dozen ministers who spent the last 4 or 5 years trying to abolish senators. And here they are, quite happy to take the opportunity to run again. Opportunists, hypocrites, you make your mind up. But I give you this assurance. If you elect me, I will fight for the retention of senators, and whatever else I do on your behalf, I will undertake it honestly and straightforwardly.
And candidate 18, Malcolm Ferey, please.
Mr. Konrad, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Malcolm Ferey, and I'm standing as a candidate in these elections because I believe that the skills and abilities that I've built up throughout my career will place me in good stead to make a difference. I'm a 49-year-old Jerseyman, married to Beverly, and we make our home in the parish of St Saviour. In my current role as Chief Executive of the Citizens Advice Bureau, I have campaigned successfully on many social issues, and I regularly make comment to various media outlets and put pressure on politicians and policymakers to bring about real change to positively affect the lives of ordinary islanders. This work has taught me so much about the problems that people living in this island face on a day-to-day basis. My politics, therefore, are centred on keeping in touch with the ordinary islander and professionalism in delivering the appropriate solutions to those problems. In short, I want what's best for Jersey and its people. If you click on my website, malcolmferry.com, you will see and hear all of the issues that are important to me in my campaign video. However, tonight I'd like to highlight two of them for you. The plans for the dual facility hospital present a huge challenge. It is clear that the proposals have been well crafted. However, we need to ensure that the plans are properly scoped out in relation to the overall cost of the project, as a development of this magnitude could spiral out of control if the budget holders and developers are not held closely to account. Questions still remain on transport links, records keeping between the two sites, and of course there are pros and cons of operating a dual site hospital facility. But this is the biggest expenditure that our island has faced probably ever, and we want to make sure that a £297 million spend from the strategic reserve is exactly as we anticipated. Access to justice. The Jersey Access to Justice Group was set up to consider the structure, format and funding of legal aid while seeking to improve access to services, legal services in Jersey. I was delighted to be able to join this group and help put the ordinary islanders' viewpoint across. The UK's legal aid system has been decimated. We need to make sure that doesn't happen in Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferey. Could I ask Mr. Haddon and Mr. Lane to collect a couple of roving mics from Martin over in the corner? It's your opportunity now. I'm going to take 3 questions from Parishioner of St Peter straight away, and then we're going to, each candidate is going to try and answer all 3 within the minute and a half allocated to them. So if you've got your question, thinking about it. Okay, we've got a lady here, another lady here, and a gent over there at the moment. We'll take those as the first 3. David, this lady here. Could you give your name, please, as you pose your question?
My name's Penny Carter. My question to the candidates is, in 2006, the UK introduced top-up tuition fees for university students, which caused a huge hike for families to afford. What proposals do the candidates have for dealing with this?
Thank you very much, Ms. Carter. And the next lady is this David. This lady here with the grey top on. Give your name again, please.
Hiya, it's Chris Lefevre. I just wanted to ask the candidates if they were successful in election or re-election next month, what position would they seek in the States and why?
Thank you. And over here, Jason. That's it, thank you.
Robert Surkoff. A little loud. We've just heard today that TDF are suggesting that their funding this year that they will spend is 500,000, last year was 800,000, yet we've heard plenty of late that tourism is going to be promoted and developed. Do you think that sort of decrease is actually valid, or that more funding should go into tourism events, and in which way should it be spent?
Thank you very much, Mr. Surkoff. Thank you, David and Jason. Could you hang on to your microphones if we have time later on? Just to advise the audience here tonight, we're aiming to finish round about 9:30, or as we started 5 minutes late, we'll make it 9:35, unless you've had enough before then and there's no more questions. So the first question, please, if we can go back to Konrad, number 1, please. And the first question is, in 2009, top-up fees for universities were put in place, and 2006 by the UK government. What would you propose to do here in Jersey? The second question for you is, if you're successful, what position would you aim for and why? And the last question is, Tourism Development Fund, is the funding been reduced, and what would you propose to do about it? Okay, Konrad, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Penny, first of all, I do agree that university fees are too high. I was a student of Open University myself, and I found university fees unproportionately high. I had to quit university at the second year due to the high fees, so I don't have a ready answer to you, but I will be looking for a solution to reduce those fees, because simply I don't think they are fair. In relation to question number 2, I would be seeking position of immigration minister to stop high immigration to the island. As I already mentioned in my speech, we cannot simply accommodate any more people on the island, and we have to make most of what we have and give opportunity to permanent residents of this island. We do have resources, we have enough people, and I think we can make most of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person up, please, number 2, Philip Bozov. Do you want to repeat the questions?
No, I'm fine, Constable,
Okay,
thank you. First of all, Mrs. Carter, yes, in 2006 there was an issue. I think there is a big issue in relation to student finance. School leavers quite rightly want and should aspire to be able to get to university. And I know that there is a real big problem with lots of middle-income families certainly not being able and actually worrying about the cost of their university education. Now, university is not a solution to everybody, but certainly about 45% of our students do. And I recognise that it's a big issue. And as I said in my opening remarks, education is frankly the big area. We've not had a big strategic review of education, top to bottom, from conception to further education. The whole thing needs to be looked at. What position, Mrs. Lefevre? Any issue, my experience is really in economics, finance and external relations. I will be supporting the Chief Minister, current Chief Minister. I think he's done a very good and courageous job, and I will be, if I'm fortunate, I will do event-led tourism. I'm shocked. I didn't know it's been cut. Event-led tourism under my period of office was increased. We've launched broadcast tonight. We've had a great month of Jersey Live. This week, the marathon. Next week, the marathon. Event funding is the future of tourism, absolutely. And I want to see and believe it should be having additional funding. And I think Kevin Keen's going to come to that conclusion. But I don't know. I don't know the detail because I'm not responsible for the DDF. But I'll sure as heck find out and tell you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 3, Zoe, do you want the questions again, or have you got them?
The top-up fees are a big problem for students. They end up in debt, and then some of the courses don't actually lead to jobs. So I think we need to be a lot more careful when we're advising our young people of exactly what courses, whether they're worthwhile doing it and actually value for money. As regards to which position I'd obviously seek to be the Health Minister, as I believe that during this time it's very important to have a frontline professional who's also worked not only as a GP but in children's service and at Labar Centre and community clinics, and who's got a broad understanding of what's works currently and what needs strengthening, where the gaps and the waste lie. As regards tourism, I think events do attract lots of tourists to the island, and they help and give us a better culture. What concerns me is, like in your parish, you've got a lovely hotel like Les Charriers that has been given planning permission to change into flats, and I just wonder where the tourists, these 1 million tourists, will stay in the future.
Thank you. And Speaker 4, Chris Magee. Have you got the questions, Chris?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
My experience with university, I went to the University of Edinburgh, I got a law degree. In the application process, I was told that if anything went wrong, phone up UCAS, tell them you're from Jersey. Why? Because they get more money. I wasn't charged, well, because I grew up in Scotland, I should have qualified for a thing called SAS, which would have meant that it would have been free for me to attend university. But because I was resident here, I was outside the UK, so I paid higher fees. I was outside the EU, so I paid even higher fees than that. I went on exchange on third year to the University of Oslo, which at the time was the most expensive place to live on the planet. Yet despite that, it was much cheaper for me to go to university there than it was to go in Edinburgh. This makes absolutely no sense. The reason for that is because I received a grant because of my academic record. I think there should be more grants and there should be more scholarships available for young people who perhaps aren't able to afford, or their families aren't able to afford the full amount to send them to university. With regards to event-led tourism, I think that there has been a lot of success with like the Blackout event up at Fort Regent. I think that's another use that we're missing out on. A lot of that is to do with the extension of licensing hours. It was tried, it was a great success. I think we should see more event-led tourism on the island. I think we should see bigger events like that, and that will bringing money into the island is always going to be good for the economy.
Thank you very much. And the next one, candidate 5, David Richardson.
Yes, on the discussion of universities, I think everybody should go who wants to go and gets the right level should go to university. Obviously, the quality of course is terribly important. I don't think anybody should go and study, for instance, decorating or something like that. There's a lot of odd subjects out there, especially when Jersey's paying through the teeth, and there's quite a high dropout rate of young students coming out because they're feeling homesick. We need to make them better prepared. I think in Jersey we need to expand the courses at our current university here to take those people who cannot go to university in the UK or find it too difficult or for some odd reason. From the point of view of which ministry I would take would be energy and environment. I'm a scientist with enormous amounts of experience and connections in the UK with scientists, or globally scientific. From the point of tourism, I obviously think it's very much event-led. I think we do tremendously with what we have. I'm very shocked that we do have a cutback in that sector, but obviously we've got to look at cutbacks everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask the next question, just to remind you, the 3 questions were university fees, if you're successful, what position would you aim for in government, why, and the last question was about event-led tourism and funding. So now, candidate number 6, Jeff Haven, please.
Thank you. I'm well aware of top-up fees, having had my youngest finish university not too long ago. Thankfully, he's actually now back here working as a teacher. But it is a great worry for the youngsters, because the last thing you really want is anybody coming out of university under financial pressure, or that financial pressure being passed on to parents. It is something that is coming out of the UK and is being forced on us. What we can particularly do about it is only negotiate with the UK and see if we can lessen this. But again, we do need to do more at Highlands and build that. Tourism Development Fund, that it's going down is a great shame. Events-led tourism is the only really way forward for us, but we have to be a little bit careful. We have lost so many hotel beds in the last 15 years that to have big events, we haven't got enough beds. So if we can grow event tourism, we will get hotel investment.
I've been cut off. Oh no, I'm back on again, thank you. Just remind candidates, the first bell is at a minute. You do have a minute and a half. Jeff, do you want to have another half a minute?
My apologies, thank you very much indeed. Because we have to counter the short stay tourism thing that we're experiencing at the moment. We don't get people coming for long periods, it's more and more short stay. And lastly, position in the States, that the natural fit for me would have to be economic development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And candidate number 7, Alan Maclean, please.
Thank you. There's clearly a lot of competition for Economic Development Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, the question about education fees, it is a worry. There has been tremendous pressure on Middle Jersey incomes, and we want our children, those that wish to go away to university. Quite simply, we want that education because we'd like to get imported back to the island so that we have less reliance on immigration. We want our young, skilled people go away to get properly educated and to come back here and give more to the island. Clearly, experience worldwide is part of the equation, but it's still important. A root and branch review of the education system and looking at funding to see how we can do more to assist with the area of top-ups, which is a difficult issue with the UK, but we do need to look at it. It's a problem. As far as tourism is concerned, I've supported tourism. I'm fully behind it. I established the Shadow Board, which came up with a new plan. I've signed off Visit Jersey for a new shadow organisation to do the marketing of tourism, and I've ring-fenced the funding for the last 3 years through cuts. Tourism Development Fund's got £500,000 over 3 years. We put £621,000 a year ED into events. Events are the future. Event-led tourism, really important. And as far as the future role in the States, I would consider putting my name forward as Chief Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. And could we have candidate number 8, Sarah Ferguson, please?
Can you invest in some new chairs before next time? Top-up fees for students. What worries me is that we're putting too many, almost forcing children into going on to university. Our careers advisors aren't really giving them advice as to sensible courses to do. We get them dropping out. You know, is the whole thing valid? I think we need to actually take a step back. We need to look at how much we've got locally, and we also need to see what our career advisors are doing, encouraging children to go and do, say, a degree in Ayurvedic dancing and so on. Tourism, yes, I'm very keen on tourism. I am a director of the Biarritz Hotel in St. Brelard, and I do help with the air display as far as events go. And I can tell you that every hotel in the island is full in air display week. And it just shows what event-led tourism is. And as for position, well, if I top the poll, I'd obviously go for Chief Minister. But other than that, I think probably with my background, with an engineer, an MBA, and 30, 40 years in the finance industry, I'd go for Treasury, or the Minister for running the reform programme to make the states more efficient.
Thank you. And candidate number 9, Sean Power.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Carter. I am the product of an Irish third-level system where I ended up coming out of university with debts because my father was a baker, didn't have any money. It took me some years to pay that off. My solution would be, from what I saw, I've got 2 sisters and a brother in America, and there's an annuity insurance system which is taken out on the birth of a child in America. It's a federal and state assisted and funded scheme whereby when your child is born you can take out a policy for that child to be paid for in university, and if that child decides not to go to university, the money comes back as a prepaid fund. With regard to what position were I to be elected, I would really want to see who Chief Minister is first, but I would like to merge population and migration control, social and affordable housing control and planning into one strategic department so that that minister has power over population, migration, planning and social and affordable housing. And finally, I don't know why the budget for the Tourism Development Fund was cut. I'm a great believer, as others have said, in event-led tourism. I think it's the way forward, and I think it's one of the great options for developing and improving visitor-led, event-led tourism to the island. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to remind the second half of the table, you have 1 minute for the first bell and a minute and a half overall. And the 3 questions are the student fees, position in the States and why, and the reduction in event-led tourism funding. And Andrew Green, number 10, please.
I believe that we actually need a complete review of our education system. We need to be looking at what we do with youngsters at 14 who are not academic, who might wish to go on and get proper vocational training. Because I will come to the top-up thing in a minute, but if you're going to solve the population problem here in this island, you have to solve the skills problem. We need to be producing young people that have the skills that our industries need. If we don't do that, we'll never, ever solve the problem. Top-up fees, we need to look at creative ways of supporting families. Nobody should be denied access to higher education, to university, because they come from a less well-off family. That does need to be looked at. I think I've made my position quite clear as to which position I would like in the States. I'd like the Health Minister's role, and not because the scrutiny panel looked at it, because if you look at my manifesto, I said in that manifesto that if I got the job, I would review the 2 sites. That was printed before any other discussion about this. I would need to be convinced, and I've published my findings within 100 days. I wasn't aware that the tourism fund had gone down. I'm truly passionate about event-led tourism. I don't just talk about it. It was me that got Standard Chartered to run the marathon, and that's growing year by year. Thank you.
Thank you, and we have candidate 11, John Young, please.
I had no idea either that tourism funds have been cut on this. It's ridiculous if so. Arts, sports, heritage, environmental tourism, absolutely a must. We had fabulous arts festivals. They bring people to Jersey. We've really got to emphasise that. Positions in the States, well, I'll be listening to my colleagues if I get elected, but my skill areas are obviously my planning environment skills, because I want to, there's a need to consolidate all the changes that's been made, and the new minister will be policy based only, and applications will be in a separate committee. There's a whole agenda of work there, and because I got experience in the health service, very much like my colleagues, there's clearly competition for the health minister's job, and rightfully so, because it is fundamental to the island's future. It's really number one. The question of tuition fees, well, I'll tell you what I don't want to see, student loans. It cost me a fortune taking my children through university. Fortunately, we still, I think, are relatively better off in Jersey than the students in the UK, but I'm really troubled. It's not sustainable. We've got to find island-based solutions more and try and spread the money better, but we cannot have a situation where disadvantaged students are denied the opportunity to progress. That's the number one criteria for what we do.
Thank you very much. Candidate 12, Lyndon Farnham, please.
Thank you. As a pet. Hello? 1, 2. Am I on yet? Can you hear me at the back? No. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. 1, 2, testing. No, still not there. 1, 2. Is that it? I'm here. Good. Don't you start the clock again, please, Tim. As a parent whose 2 grown-up children have just done 9 years between them at university, I know what a huge financial and emotional commitment it is to deal with this. I don't know the answer, but what I do know is, in the past, the thresholds for earnings for parents were far too low, and they excluded really a huge part of Middle Jersey that needed help with this. I don't know. I'm going to look into it and find out more. I think it's nothing short of quite disgraceful that we have allowed, in real terms, our tourism funding to be cut by over half over the last 10, 15 years. We seem to have put tourism on the back burner, despite the good work that Senator Maclean has done recently. And if you remember, the Tourism Development Fund was originally promised £10 million. I don't know how much it's had, 3 or 4. It's underfunded and it needs more support, and I will fight for that. I've made it clear in my manifesto that I wish to seek the position of Economic Development Minister, because I want to see us taking the economy seriously once again and trying to return some growth. However, I will do any job the states decide to give me, with perhaps the exception of planning. Thank you.
And candidate 13, Paul Routier, please.
Thank you very much. The Tourism Development Fund, I think I was on one of the original fund committees when it was established, and it's always had a rocky ride. The funding has been up and down like a yo-yo. But I think the important bit about how the fund is used is very important. There should be encouraged to take risks. I can recall the very first year that the organisers of Jersey Live came to us, and they wanted a deposit for to book a band. It was a Kasabian band, and I happened to know about it, but the rest of the team didn't know. So I said, come on, let's go for it, and we gave them the deposit. But look what's happened to Jersey Live now. It's a fantastic event which brings a lot of people to the island. There are real opportunities for sport and for heritage events, and we should really be supporting. I don't know why there's been a reduction in there, but I know it's been one of those Cinderella funds which has been in and out, which we need to resolve. What position I would like? Well, I would like to continue to serve our current Chief Minister. If he's elected and becomes Chief Minister, I would like to be his assistant and to continue with focusing on social policy, because I believe that we have a duty to our island to ensure that we have really good social policies covered off. University fees, I don't know the backdata of what the current situation is, but certainly I do support what Deputy Green was saying about we need a complete review of all our education services. Thank you very much.
Candidate 14, Anne Sutton, please.
Thank you. Yes, we have a means-tested grant system for students who want to go to university, and I know how parents struggle. I know 2 teachers who've had to take out a second mortgage to send their son to university, so I think the threshold for the means test should be much lower. I think that's better than a grant system because students in Jersey have to travel off island, and I think it's good that they travel off island, and I think it's good that they should be able to study academic as well as vocational courses. I understand that accountancy firms and trust company administrator jobs, they want people with a good academic degree. They don't want somebody vocationally trained for a post like that. In terms of what job I would like, well, for the same reasons that Dr. Cameron would like to be Health Minister, I'd like to be Education Minister. I believe there's a vacancy, and we've got a new Director of Education who is a man that I haven't met yet, but I feel that I'd like to work with. I think we share the same vision. Event-led tourism, yes, that's what we need for the shoulder months. The Merton was absolutely packed to the seams during the summer with families because it was offering the sort of holiday that families wanted. But we have things that happen in the shoulder months and we need more. I'd like to see a good literary festival like Guernsey has, with really famous names in the literary world coming over, and I think that would attract a different market to Jersey.
Thank you very much. And candidate 15, Philip Ballish, please.
Tourism funding is obviously important because tourism is one of our major industries, but it obviously has to relate to the other demands on the public purse. For my part, I would like to think that the industry could be led by slightly more innovative thinking than has been the case in the past, and perhaps that will happen with the new organisation that has been established. Obviously, event-led tourism in the arts, heritage and sports would be something I think that would be to our advantage to develop. So far as top-up fees are concerned, they obviously have an impact on the on Jersey because almost every university has taken the advantage to increase its fees, and that those fees have to be paid by Jersey students. I think the important thing is that we should not allow any talented student to be prevented by parental finances from going to university. I think that in some respects the system is actually too generous to some parents, but perhaps not generous enough to others. And like Senator Maclean, I would favour a wholesale review of tourism, of education policy, not just in university funding, but more generally.
Very much. And could we have candidate number 16, Ian Gorst, please?
Thank you very much, Konrad. University fees, yes, we recognise that it is difficult, and it has been difficult since the top-up fees. That's one of the reasons that this government increased, in fact we doubled, the child tax allowance for families with children at university, because we wanted to at least try and do something in the short term to help. It was only a small measure, but we think it was an important measure. The truth is that actually there's no easy answer to it, other than perhaps through increasing those allowances again, but we know why we haven't done it this time. It's the review that's going to be key, and it's finding creative ways of then dealing with these issues that we know are difficult. Tourism, the Minister was right. He has, during the course of this government, protected the tourism budget. We know that probably in the long term it's going to increase. One of the reasons that we've set up Visit Jersey is, as the director there says, to make Jersey fall back in love with tourism. I think we would all agree with that. It's important. It seems that this evening we've heard that everybody wants the thankless task. It's been a real honour for me, as I said in my opening comments, to serve as Chief Minister for the last 3 years. I believe that we've made a really good start on many, many projects which have been long outstanding, and it would be an honour for me to continue to serve with the experience that I now have. I'd be able to hit the ground with my feet running, but that of course is in your hands, as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate 17, Garda Ferey, please.
In respect of tuition fees, when I did my law degree, I was very lucky to have the States of Jersey pay all my expenses at uni plus a full maintenance grant. And I don't see why young people in this island shouldn't enjoy exactly the same things I enjoyed 35 years ago. And we should prioritise funds to make sure that can happen. But it does boil down to money, and if we are faced with a limited budget, I think the only fair option is to say the grants and fees are going to be competitive, and they will be stripped out like playing golf if you don't make the cut. But you start off by giving the grants to the A-star students and work your way down through the A's, B's, the BB's and the CC's until, I'm afraid, no money left. We hope it would never come to that. Now, Tourism Development Fund, I'm deeply concerned about this. Our new £100,000 a year shadow tourism board telling us we're going to have 1 million tourists a year in Jersey by 2020. I read their interesting 64-page report, and I couldn't find one sentence to say how that was going to happen. TDF fund, well, I got the Forts and Towers project started when I was on it. It's now self-funding, makes a fortune, allows people to go to Barger Ground, Radio Tower, Seymour Tower, and all the rest of it, and it got on BBC Coast. I've done more for tourism just about anyone else in the last 10 years.
Thank you very much. And candidate 18, Malcolm Ferey, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm aware of the gaps in student funding. I've got, my youngest daughter is away at university at Plymouth at the moment. And when our young people go away and get that wider perspective, they come back as different people. It changes them. Just the fact that they're off island in that learning environment. And I believe we should be investing in our young people in that way. Which job would I like if I got elected? I'm glad that so far nobody has said Social Security. I worked at the Social Security Department for 12 years in compliance and governance section. And I worked my way up to leading that section. So I have a very good understanding of the way the social security system works, both the benefits, the fact that the discrimination law is administered through them, and employment legislation. I have a seat at the moment on the employment forum, although I've stepped aside whilst I'm campaigning. So again, that makes recommendations to the Minister for Social Security on minimum wage and employment-related issues. In relation to the Tourism Development Fund, now's the time to speculate, to accumulate. What would be nice would be to have a more exciting advertising campaign, something that's really going to grab people, rather than, we do have the nice beaches, we do have all those, the things that people see, but we need to think a little bit out of the box, a bit differently, and reach people in different ways, not just through television, but other mediums as well.
Thank you, Martin. Right, it's time to any more questions now. I think, Jason, there was somebody just behind Mr. Surkoff that had their hand up first time. And another 2 hands, one in the front here, David. Okay, madam. Yes, could you give your name first, please?
My name is Catherine Garner. Given that Senators Gorst and Uzov were supporting the proposal to remove the bailiff, what are the views of the candidates over the possible removal of the bailiff from the State's chamber?
Thank you very much. And the second one here, David. And another hand somewhere else. Anyone else?
Alan Rossniel. Alan Rossniel. I'm just wondering what the candidates' views are and feelings are towards the policy of encouraging high wealthy individuals from coming to the island, which creates a kind of different society, two-tier society in a way, and also the implication that they leave the place where they created their wealth, therefore coming to Jersey to avoid paying tax where they created that wealth.
Thank you, Alan. And do we have a third question in the hall tonight? Yes, just behind you, David James.
What are the views
Sorry,
of the
can I have
candidates?
your name first?
Sorry, James Dickinson. What are the views of the candidates on keeping the constables in the States?
Thank you very much, James. We're going to start now. We're halfway through along the panel here this evening to spread the load a little bit. So we can go straight now to candidate number 10, Andrew Green. Andrew, have you got all the questions down?
Got all the questions.
Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? That's
Yes,
better. Okay. Removal of the bailiff views. There is pressure to have the separation between the role of the bailiff and the states. My own view is that I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I like that role being there, but I have to be a realist as well. I think one day we may be forced to change, just as Sark was forced to change. But so long as we can keep it there, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Wealthy individuals, to answer your question, Alan, the wealthy individuals we bring in today are somewhat different to the ones, mind you, I wouldn't say that anyone would regret people like Jesse Boots coming here and all the good that they did for Jersey when they were here, FB Fields and housing and all sorts of things like that. But the wealthy individuals, the high net worths that we bring in now, bring their businesses in. They provide employment. They're not just about evading tax. They're contributing to the island in employment and in providing funds. Sorry, what was the third question, Constable?
Constables in or out?
Keeping the constables in or out. Well, the referendum question is mine, because I am fed up to hear with hearing one side of the Assembly saying that the constables should be out, the other side saying they should be in. I want to hear what you have to say. If you were to push me as to what my own view was, if you want me to come off the fence, I think on balance constables should be in. But actually, I will vote according to the way that you tell us in the referendum.
Thank you very much. Given the time, I don't think we'll need the roving mics anymore, so you can take a seat now, Jason and David. Thank you very much for your help with that. Going to now candidate number 11, John Young. John, do you need the questions or have you got them?
No, I think I'm okay, thank you.
Thank you.
On the question of wealthy individuals, I think it's long established that we do need to have entrepreneurs come into the island to set up businesses and employ local people. There's no question that, that's an important source. But that's a different aspect to the sort of publicity we've given things recently, where you see headlines in the Evening Post that this is the future, our future is dependent on this. I don't believe so. I think it's better to have them paying tax here rather than own companies off island and don't pay any tax. On the question of the bailiff, I voted for the amendment to put it to a referendum when the proposals came. I personally have found the bailiff to be objective, scrupulously fair in the States, an enormous benefit. But I do accept what my colleague Deputy Green says, is that at a point in time, I think it will be necessary to review it. But I think at the present time, not now. On the question of constables, my views are known. I've stated them before. I haven't been active in the A or B campaigns. I've been silent. But I personally believe there's a separate role for the constable entirely. There's work to be done. We must grow and enhance the role of the parish and keep the honorary principle. But I think separate elections for constables I prefer. And then if those either the electorate want them to stand as, for positions in the States, that would be a separate election, and they can do so. And so I think you can achieve the best of both worlds. But those are my personal views. I'm not active in campaigning. I think the States shouldn't waste any time on it in the next session.
Thank you. Candidate 12, Lyndon Farnham, please.
I too am a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to the office of bailiff. I think we're incredibly fortunate to have that level of expertise chairing the Assembly. Let's face it, who else would want to do it? Come and sit in front of all of us and try and keep us in order. It's not an easy job. But I'm also a realist, and I think it's only a matter of time before we do separate the judiciary and the legislature. But before we do, let's decide on a new system first, before we kick the bailiff out. Let's agree what we're going to go to and then phase it in properly. I support, I think, on balance, the high net worth individuals do a lot more good for our society, and the majority of them still retain their business interests around the world. They still employ people with their companies in the countries where they are established and still pay taxes there, but they choose to come and live here because we offer a far more beneficial society than many other places. And I, for this moment in time, continue to support the Constable's automatic right to sit in the States. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 13, Paul Routier, please.
Thank you very much. I've been in the States for 21 years now, and the bailiff has been sitting in the chair and overseeing what the States members get up to. And I have to say there has been very, very few times where I've thought that the bailiff shouldn't be there, because they give a good ruling on the on our procedures, because it does need somebody with a legal brain to actually follow the procedures that we have. But there does need to be some recognition that there will be challenges to that, and we'll have to face that at the time, but we need to do that in an orderly manner. But at the present time, I'm very supportive of the bailiff being there. The policy of bringing high net worth people into the island, they do contribute a lot to our community. I mean, there is in the way of jobs, and also they obviously pay a lot of tax as well. If we look at the amount of tax they contribute, it is quite considerable. And they're creating jobs for other people within the businesses. With regard to the connotabs in the States, I have a yes label on there, but as we are going to be asking the public what they think in the referendum, I think it was an absolute disgrace the way the States rejected the last referendum results. It was disaster I think for everybody, and certainly if, although I'm wearing this yes sticker, if the public say no, I will support that vote.
Candidate 14, Anne Sutton, please.
Thank you. I agree with what's been said about the bailiff. We're the only Western democracy that has the same person as head of the legislature and of the judiciary, and that will have to end. I don't agree with the Constable's automatic right to sit in the States. I think they do a good job in their parishes, and I think to keep them there would strengthen the parish system. But St Peter would have 2 States members in a clothier-type assembly, and if you wished your constable to be in the States, then you could vote them in for that purpose. Wealthy immigrants, I feel very strongly about this. I agree with Alan, there is a moral issue there. They're not paying their taxes where their money was raised. I don't think they contribute enormously to the economy. It takes 8 wealthy immigrants to produce 1 million a year, which doesn't go very far to paying for our essential services. And they do take up quite a lot of Jersey in terms of their big houses and their big gardens. Now, we're told that they contribute a lot by starting businesses, and I would really like to know this. And what I would like to do if I'm in the States is to actually do a survey of what the wealthy immigrants actually contribute to Jersey, because I would like to know. The ones I know don't have businesses. They employ gardeners and housekeepers on low wages, so they're not paying much tax. I really would like to know what the evidence is for what they're contributing.
Thank you. Candidate 15, Philip Barge, please.
I obviously declare an interest in the first question, in the sense that I held the office of bailiff for 15 years. But I can assure you that the bailiff occupies and holds no political role in the States whatsoever. While we are a Crown dependency, I think that our government needs the advice of constitutional lawyers to ensure that our constitutional privileges are not whittled away in ignorance. So I fundamentally disagree with my colleagues, Senators Gorst and Joseph. I think they are mistaken. One day we may have to change, but that day has not yet come. On the question of 11Ks, every country encourages rich people to come to their country in order to gain the benefits of the funds that they bring with them. And I don't see why Jersey should be any different in that respect. There's a balance to be struck. We don't want to be overwhelmed with rich people who might destroy the culture of the island in that way, but I don't think that happens. They're a very limited number, and they make a very positive contribution to the island in many different ways. So far as the constables are concerned, it was a disgrace that the decision of the people in the referendum was not implemented. I feel strongly that the constables should remain in the States for two reasons. Firstly, they are the heart of the parish, and the parish is the heart of island life.
Thank you. I'd like to have given you a bit longer, but afraid I can't. Moving on to candidate 16, and your goals, please.
Thank you, Konrad. I am a traditionalist. In fact, some of you, even in this room, might think of me as part of the establishment. But even being a traditionalist, I believe that our traditional institutions have to evolve. We need to make sure that we have a modern democracy. That's one of the reasons why we've been talking about electoral reform for year after year, because we recognise there are problems that need to be dealt with. It's a shame that we rejected the referendum. And the role of bailiff, I say nothing against the bailiff. We've had some excellent bailiffs. In fact, I can't think of a time when we haven't had an excellent bailiff. It's not about the individual, it's about the role, and it's about the separation between the legislature and the judiciary. We are now one of the only democracies around the world that still has that dual role, and we have to ask ourselves, do we want to keep the bailiff and all that the bailiff is regard to civic head, and do we want to take charge and evolve that role ourselves, or do we want to be forced upon us? I believe that we should be masters of our own destiny, and we should deal with it in a careful and thoughtful way. High net worth individuals, yes, we've changed the rules so that now they are bringing their jobs and they are bringing their businesses and they are bringing benefit to our community, because that's what we wanted them to do, and I want to encourage more of them. My lapel says everything that you need to know with regard to the Konrads in the States. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate 17, Guy Lefebvre, please.
Well, when the ravens leave the Tower of London and when the apes leave Gibraltar Rock, it'll be the same story when the bailiff leaves the States Assembly. It'll be the end of Jersey. And the only interesting feature about this argument is to discover how many States members know nothing about the island's history, know nothing about Jersey's constitution, and don't even understand their own standing orders, because the bailiff is stitched up in the States so he cannot affect policies and debates in the way everybody thinks. High net worth individuals, of course, let's have them pay tax here, because if they're not paying tax here, they'll be paying tax somewhere else. And what is the problem there? Many of the high net worth individuals I know, charming people, they'll have a drink within the local pub and quietly write a cheque for £10,000 out to the local youth club on condition of anonymity. Those are the sort of 11Ks we like. As for the constables, with respect to your sitting deputy, my personal opinion is that we should scrap deputies in their entirety and have a States Assembly made up of 30 senators elected island-wide and 12 constables to represent the parishes, except they don't get a vote. Only the island-wide mandated politicians get the vote. That's my wish list. Thanks.
Thank you. Going back to number one now, Konrad. I'll just read out the questions again, Konrad, for you. Oh, sorry. Malcolm Ferey, number 18. Apologies for trying to avoid you there.
Thank you, Mr. Konrad. Okay, the Konrad of St Helier brought a proposition recently to remove the bailiff, and that was defeated. So I don't think that argument is going to come up in the near future, but no doubt it will come up again because the issue obviously isn't going to go away. In relation to high net worth clients, from Alan, that was that question. What high net worth clients or high net worth people bring to the island, very often they're people, renowned people, they're famous people. They raise our profile. Most people can think of some very famous people who live in Jersey, and equally in the UK and other parts of the world, people also recognise those famous faces. So as well as bringing wealth, they bring recognition to the island, and that can't be a bad thing. In relation to the Connotabs, I firmly believe that they should stay in. That's my personal opinion. I believe they are a stabilising force within the House. I believe they bring a sensibility to the House that perhaps is lacking at times, and I would very much not like to see their removal. However, as I've said in my manifesto, it is down to the people who answer that referendum, and I will vote with those people, but I very much hope that the referendum result will be positive in their favour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferey. And going back to number one, before I do that, I'll just remind again, we're halfway through the second lot of questions. The first question was the candidate's view of removing the bailiff from the States Chamber. The second one was about high net worth immigrants, the two-tier society, coming here to avoid tax. The third one is, what is your views about constables in the States, in or out? So please, number one, Konrad.
Ladies and gentlemen, high net worth individuals, there could be many positive aspects if regulated in appropriate manner. They will simply bring more capital to the island, not necessarily with the purpose of tax evasion. The new money will certainly boost the economy and improve spending budget. We will be able to develop entirely new infrastructure around it to the benefit of whole population of the island. And maybe with the surplus in a spending budget, we'll be able to establish prestigious Jersey University and forget about top-up fees. Keep young and skilled, successful people in the island.
Okay, thank you, Konrad. Number two, please, Hilversov.
Thanks, Mr. Constable. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am a traditionalist, I'm a royalist, and I think that we have had a golden era with Sir Michael Burt as bailiff. He has been scrupulously non-political. He is the chief citizen, and I think that the bailiff should remain as chief citizen. But we have, I disagree with Sir Philip, if I may, law officers. The Attorney General should be advising politicians, not the Speaker, on the law. In all parliaments, the Speaker is the upholder of standards of conduct. No one that has listened to the states on the last 6 years, no one in there could believe that the current arrangements are right. The current arrangements of unlimited debates, talking endlessly about ourselves, completely unstructured business. We need to have somebody to show leadership in terms of organising the state. And I'm afraid the Chief Justice just simply can't do that. We need to find a solution to this. I was responsible for changing the rules for financial services. All countries get them in terms of entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs to bring ideas, capital and businesses of the future. Tourism. Guy Hans went to Guernsey. He bought the Grand Hotel 3 weeks ago. I'd have liked Guy Hans to be in Jersey to invest in even more hotels and paying tax in Jersey, and also building some of the new digital visions and businesses of the future. And my label says it all for where I stand on constables. They must stay.
Thank you. And can we go to candidate 3, Zoe Cameron?
I don't really understand enough about the role of bailiff and whether that's the right person to stay as Speaker. So I'm willing to kind of learn and consider about that. But I have got concerns about how our Crown officers are appointed, and feel that that's quite undemocratic when it's done off-island and has nothing to do with the islanders' views. When it comes to high-worth individuals, I think we need to be very careful about who we attract to the island. If they're going to set up businesses here and indeed show their entrepreneurial skills, then that's fine. But all too often, they come and reside here, and then they actually use a disproportionate amount of our resources. They want a bigger house, swimming pools, and that our resources are limited, and we need to be careful of that and protect our landscape. When it comes to the constables, I'm very pro them staying in the States. I think they represent, they've got a year of the parishioners on the whole, and they'll help strengthen the honorary and voluntary sector and continue to keep that community coherence that we've had for so long. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate for Chris Magee, please.
You talked about a two-tier society, and you're absolutely right. There is further consolidation of money, further consolidation of power, and further consolidation of the individuals that hold the cards, so to speak. That's not a problem specifically unique to Jersey. That's a problem that's happening all around the world. I talked earlier about multinational corporations coming in and gutting the Jersey businesses. It's the same thing that's happening with high net worth individuals. When they come over, I don't believe that they bring their skills and expertise and whatnot. What they do is they bring their golf clubs and their sports cars. That's what they bring. Trickle-down economics does not work. Don't believe me. You can look this up for yourself. It's simply not the case to say that, oh, well, they've got all this money, therefore they're going to spend it here. They'll use this as a base. They'll go off on cruises around the world or wherever it is that they go. And yeah, we're not seeing any tangible benefit. The man on the street does not see any tangible benefit from this. One of the first things I was taught when I was doing my law degree, there's 3 separate organs of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Why in Jersey is that not the case? We're told that it's a democracy, yet here's a short example of a conversation between the Chief Minister and someone that disagrees with him. Do you agree with me? No. Do you agree with me? No. Do you agree with me? Right, get out.
Okay, thank you. Candidate number 5, David Richardson, please.
I think the bailiff is great. What a lovely job to have. He's very expensive. I think we should change very slowly, because certainly the states are not ready for it with the current thing, can't even vote out or in the constables. So we need somebody firm, with a firm presence, who knows the law. I am not in the States, so I can't comment on his speaker's ability. As for wealthy individuals, yes, I am for it. We've got to be very picky, and I can give you one example of a really credible good one, and that's Per Senior of Manor St. Wands. He's bought O3b over here, and that has put, I think, 8 or 9 satellites in outer space in the lower orbit, and that is going to bring, or it's helping to bring, very effectively, fast broadband to the third world. And this is really effective, and will, as I say, population is a problem. One thing that will help is high connectivity. Here is an example of Jersey doing its best. Is that it?
30 seconds.
I've got 30 seconds. As for taking the constables in and out, 11 out of 12 weren't challenged coming in. Therefore, there is not enough people in their parish for it to be truly democratic. I do think constables are very valuable, and I really think, as I said, they should be there but not have a vote. I personally would like to have a different assembly and have a much greater role doing other things like scrutinising. But that's my personal opinion.
Thank you. Candidate number 6, Jeff Haven.
The bailiff with 2 roles is a tradition in Jersey that has gone on for many hundreds of years. The roles are entirely separate. They don't get confused. But in a modern world, there is pressure to separate it. How to separate it is going to be extremely difficult. And personally, I hope it takes quite a long time. High net worth individuals coming into the island are something that we need. We need people. They come in, yes, they bring money, yes, in tax, yes, they spend money, but they do bring expertise, they bring ideas. And these people, do not forget, do such a lot locally for charity. And it's all done very quietly, you never hear about it, but if it ever became public, it would astound you.
Constables in the States, I personally think they should be there. I think that the parish as a whole should have a representation within the States. We will obviously be seeing what is put on the ballot paper in 3 weeks' time, and this time I think we ought to make sure we listen to what is said. But we will await the outcome of that with interest.
Thank you. Could have candidate 7, Ellen Maclean, please.
Thank you. The bailiff does a fantastic job. We have been extraordinarily fortunate in recent years to have the highest calibre and quality of bailiffs, and it's a tradition in this island, and as far as I'm concerned, it's part of our history, and we shouldn't be bullied into changing it until we're ready to do so. There is a perception issue. We do need to be careful, but at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, it should stay as it is. As far as high net worth individuals are concerned, they bring a significant amount to the island in terms of investment. We get a lot of younger, more economically active individuals who they create employment in Jersey, they bring their investments, they have businesses globally, and by the way, Alan, they pay money on those businesses in the jurisdictions in which they're located. So they do contribute to those jurisdictions, but they still contribute more here. They contribute a significant amount to charities, and they also provide financing for a lot of local businesses, mentoring services and advice, which is extremely valuable. So I think we need more, not less. We only get 14, by the way. Well, last year we got 14, so it's small numbers, but very valuable. The constables, I'm wearing the yes. Before I went into the States, I believe they shouldn't be in the States. Now I've seen them in action, I wouldn't change it. They bring a steadying hand, really important connection to the parish. We need the connection to the parish, and I would keep them, and I hope they do stay, but I'll of course listen to the referendum, unlike some of my colleagues who didn't listen last time you gave us some advice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and candidate Sarah Ferguson, please.
Right. Bailiff in the States, he doesn't have a casting vote. I think sometimes he must be bored out of his tiny mind, but I'm all for keeping him. He's highly intelligent, and, well, all the ones I've worked under have been. So, yes, please. High net worth individuals, I have no problem if they contribute to tax, but I'm concerned that our tax system is now so complicated it needs a complete overhaul, as we've got loopholes, and they benefit everybody if you can find them. So get yourself a good accountant and find a loophole, except we need the money, please. As far as the constables in the States are concerned, I like the honorary system. I'm a former centenier. I'd like to see constables hold assemblies like they used to, and they seem to have stopped doing, to discuss matters that are of interest to the parish. They don't seem to do that as much. The last referendum was flawed. It was useless, but I'll see what this referendum says, and then I will follow it. At the moment, I think our financial situation is far more important to deal with than reform of the states, position of the bailiff, anything like that. I think we need to get the finances running properly.
Thank you. The last speaker for this evening, number 9, Sean Power.
Last but not least, can I deal with the high net worth individuals question first? I would love to have Richard Branson. I would love to have Bono, Sandra Bullock, Pharrell Williams, or any of those people living in this island, because they do a lot of good. They bring their wealth here, they spread their wealth, and they make it a better place to live. I remind people that one of the founding fathers of America who signed the Declaration of Independence was a man called John Adams. And he also said that in order to distribute wealth, you have to create it first, and somebody has to create it first. Last year, Hewlin Renoff Shipping collapsed, and it was resuscitated in the name of a new company, Channel Island Lines. 4 local residents put their cash into that business, which was losing money. 4 local businessmen put their money into that and resuscitated the business. It's still not there, but that is an example of high net worth individuals guaranteeing an essential lift-on, lift-off service to Jersey. With regard to the bailiff, he's the civic head. He's been here for hundreds of years through war and peace. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And finally, as I said in my opening remarks tonight, I believe in the honorary system. I believe in the parish system. I believe in keeping the constables in the States. Thank you.
Thank you.